We made it to another episode. Yay! I'm here with the lovely, is it Andrea? Am I pronouncing that? Okay, I'm great. The lovely Andrea Molinari. Yay, from Scout Comics. Hi, everybody. Let's say hi to the chat. We got, hey, Las Cruces. Hi, Phil. Actually, Phil and I ran around Capital City together, and we both bought a copy of this book. So we were both looking forward to reading that.
Yeah, no, I edited that book. It's very good.
Oh, no, the interiors are beautiful, and I love that there's like a little snowman, and he's saying Katie. So that's what hooked me on buying it. So it had my name in there. So I love that.
Yeah, no, that's
very pretty.
That's a quality piece of work, top to bottom.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited. I haven't read it yet, but I can't wait.
So you got a chance to meet Mike Salisbury because he would have been the one. He's the writer that would have been there for that. So.
Yeah, he was there when his family was there. They were all adorable. They were lovely running the table. Hey, Glenn. Sure. Hi, Kev. Oh, and there was somebody else there too, and I forgot his name, but he was talking about a shark in space, I believe. And I need to figure out more about that because it sounded amazing. Hi, Kev. Hey, Beefaroni. Oh, well, thank you, Kev. I'm enjoying having you guys here, and I'm having way fun talking to art people and, getting to know more about more books and things. So thank you guys for coming. Let's see. What's up, Joe? Hey, Travis. Hope you had a great birthday. Hey, Miss O. Hey, DS. Let's see. Whoop. Hey, Norin. All right. If you have any questions or coming on, hey, Nin. What's up? If you guys have any questions, you can plop them in the chat, and we're going to talk to Andrea here, and we're going to get to know his The Shepherd comic, which is your book that you're co-writing with your son. Correct. Which I think is amazing. So what is your son's name?
His name is Roberto. He's my oldest son. I have 3 kids, and actually 2 of the kids have actually worked on, they're really not, I shouldn't say kids because Roberto's 29. He'll be 30 in November. So he's not a kid anymore. But both my oldest son, Roberto, and my daughter, who's my middle child, she's, do this quickly here in my head. I think 25, 26 now, something like that. It's, she's older. Anyway, she worked with me as well. She's worked as an editor on the series and also actually helped me co-write a one-shot that we did together. So, yeah.
That's so cool. So how did you guys get together to work on a book together?
Well, I've told this story probably many times, so I'll give you the abbreviated version. Okay. And you can certainly ask questions based on it. But the original story of The Shepherd, which you're seeing pictured behind me, that, the volume 1, it was actually based on a nightmare that I had about my oldest son, Roberto. And in a nutshell, I dreamed that my son died of a drug overdose. And the worst part about it was in the nightmare, it didn't just it wasn't like a singular event. It was like a series of events that I was kind of swept along, where I actually was, it's getting the news, identifying the body at the morgue, going to the funeral home, attending the graveside, subsequent time after that, grieving him, all that. And so, I woke up, I'm sweating, I'm shaking. My wife is like, what is wrong with you? What, because I woke her up and I said, I don't think you want to know. And she said, well, now I kind of do, So I told her, and she said, I hate you. Why would you tell me that?
Oh, no.
I was like, because you asked me to. You told me to tell you. So I was, upset about the dream. I'm not the kind of guy that has dreams, or if I do, I certainly don't remember them. And this one was pretty rough. It really took me about 2 days to really get to the point where I could actually talk to my son about it, because I was like thinking, is this some kind of portent? Am I being warned, from beyond, or some really fucked up thing like that, And when I finally did get to the point where I told my son about it, he was like, Dad, that's so cool. And I'm like, no, it's really not at all. It's not cool at all. I'm not happy to have this kind of a dream. And his whole attitude from the beginning was that we need to do something with this, that this is a story that had been kind of like dropped in our lap, and we needed to do something. So he, in a nutshell, he pushed and pushed and nagged until we sat down together and wrote what has become volume 1 of the Shepherd series. And that's really how the story, got started. And when we got done doing it, I thought it was done. I thought we had gotten kind of like cathartic, got the story out of my system and, put that on the shelf and walk away. And he was like, no, we really need to make this a story, a comic, a graphic novel. And I was like, yeah, that was, it's not something I planned on doing. But again, he pushed and pushed. And so we did it. And we found that we really enjoyed it. It was really cool seeing the story come to life and seeing our characters get drawn and, seeing an artist's rendering of how these scenes might unfold. And we just came to love it. And when we were done with it, we knew that we had been bit, by the comic bug, and that this wasn't going to be the only story we told.
Oh, that's a very interesting story on how that started.
Yeah, I actually included in the volume itself. I have like an introductory thing where I just kind of describe that, that how it was born out of a nightmare. But
yeah, I think that's
I've had a dream like that since. I'll tell you that, thankfully.
Oh, well, probably a good thing.
yeah. So, but that's how it got started. So, and now we are rolling out volume 4, and volume 5 has already been written. It just needs to be lettered. The art's done.
Neat.
And I'm researching volume 6. So.
Wow, that's super. Wow, that's cool. Because I think when I saw you at Motor City, how many volumes you had at the time?
We had issue 1 of volume 4. That's
okay.
Yeah, that's what we've got so far. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to pick this up because I wasn't really sure, because we talked a little bit at Motor City, a little bit about it, but I went onto your website and I looked at more of the images there. It's really fascinating. I like a lot of the imagery that I'm seeing on there, and it's literally right up my alley of books that I like.
Describe, for your viewers and stuff, I would describe that the Shepherd is really like ghost stories. If you like ghost stories, you'll like the Shepherd. It's that simple. I've always been fascinated by ghost stories where there's a reason the ghost is actually haunting, and once that gets resolved, the ghost kind of moves on. I'm a big fan of like Guillermo del Toro's movies. I don't know how many of those you've seen, but
a lot of them.
He's done some really, it is Norrin Rad. It is a David Mack cover. You got it. He's my favorite comic book artist. And I will tell you this, a little side note about David Mack is that he's a wonderful human being. Not only is an incredibly talented artist, but he was very kind and very approachable. In fact, how I met him was he was 2 tables down from me at what was then Wizard World New Orleans. And my daughter was with me, and she was like, you want to talk to him. I'm like, it's David Mack. I mean, he's not going to want to talk to me, and she's like, no, we'll go talk to him. So she talked to him. She ended up getting him beignets. We're in New Orleans, of course, beignets and coffee and stuff like that. She totally hit him off. By the end of the weekend, he had given us free prints, signed autographed prints, and had told me that, I'll do a cover art for you. No problem. Just let me know when you're ready for it. And I will tell you, perhaps one of the all-time coolest moments in my life was when one evening I'm sitting on the couch with my wife and I get a text from David Mack. And I said to my wife, I was like, just wanted to say, I just got a text from David Mack. Here it is. Right here. It was perhaps the coolest thing, other than the birth of my kids, that has ever happened to me. That was very cool.
That's awesome.
I was like, I get texts now from David Mack. So there it is.
That's how you know you've made it. Like, the people that you looked and admired are texting you back.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. So, and like I said, I would tell you, he's a wonderful guy. It's wonderful when you have kind of a hero and then you meet that hero and they're even nicer than you thought or hoped that they would be. So that's very cool. But I will tell you, there are some really wonderful people in comics that you'll meet. You'll also meet some jackasses. They're out there too. You'll bump into them. I promise you that. But the wonderful ones, they really stick with you. Another one that I really, not to name drop too many, but another one that turned out to be really nice is Victor Santos. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, but Spanish creator. Probably best known for he did a work, it's in Polar. I did a complete brain fart there. Polar. It's published by Dark Horse. They actually Netflix did a movie with that. I think
really
Mads
familiar.
Mikkelsen, I think, was the lead in that movie. But he's done a lot of different things. Till My Knuckles Bleed, that type of stuff. So
that's a lot of good things. Yeah. Yeah, The Changeling is a good film. You know. Let's see. Okay, got all the way down to the bottom.
So Bleecker Street Comics, somebody mentioned that. I'm not familiar with that one. Where is that located? Do you know?
Bleecker Street is actually in St. Catharines in Ontario.
Oh, in Ontario. Cool. Oh.
Yeah, there's actually a couple Toronto peeps in here. Then we got one from UK, and they're kind of all scattered everywhere, all over the place.
Toronto's a great city.
Yeah. I love Toronto. Toronto's very artsy, and I like it. I know there's a couple people in here that are heading to Fan Expo whenever that's coming. I think
I think that's in August, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I've really wanted to go there. I've got to figure out the logistics of that. I've got my passport, but I need to figure out. I know that if you bring books over the border, that becomes problematic. So I've got to look into that and figure out how does that work. So
yeah, that's what Bleak was talking about, because he wanted to come down because Heroes Con, we had about 40 some people do a meetup at Heroes Con.
Okay.
Actual Dracula, you came down from Toronto. Maybe you can fill us in on how that works, like the duties and all that. Maybe you can fill us in on that.
Okay.
Oh, Polar is awesome. Oh, okay, some people have already seen that. So yeah, maybe you can fill us in on that.
Yeah, it's a graphic novel series. Polar became a Netflix movie, and my understanding is they're going to do additional movies in that series because it is a series of graphic novels. They're the Dark Horse novels are like these odd size. They're like like landscape sized.
Yes, they do a lot of weird side things, which I don't like.
And Santos' style, if you've ever seen his art style, it has kind of it almost has echoes of Mike Mignola. Strong blacks. His art is not realistic in its style. It's very much a particular taste. And I've always loved Mignola's art. So I see those things. And
I really dig like anything to do with like myths and legends and that type of stuff and that kind of lore type thing.
Yeah. Both my son and I are huge Hellboy, Mignola fans. Although I will tell you, of all the titles that Mignola has done, and there are many, I tend to like his fringe stories the best. Like I'm a huge fan of Baltimore. I think Baltimore is the best stuff that he's done. I love it.
That's cool.
I love Lobster Johnson. Absolutely love Lobster Johnson. Abe Sapien. I think I may actually like Abe Sapien better than Hellboy, and I love Hellboy.
Nice.
I don't know. I guess these peripheral characters are just.
I like in Hellboy. I like the weird oddball characters, like the side characters. The more I don't know, there's something about them that speaks to me, and
he does a great job kind of fleshing them out, And so I'm a huge fan of the Mignola stuff. My son and I have a massive collection of if Mignola's written it, I won't say that we have everything, but I would be willing to bet that we have probably somewhere in the ballpark of 70% of his stuff.
Yeah, I got
and that's a lot. He's prolific. He's
done a lot. He's done X-Men. He's done a lot of things. I recently backed his Kickstarter for the documentary. I haven't watched it yet, but it looks really good. And I can't wait to actually sit down and watch that sometime. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, that would be good.
What is oh my god.
Okay, so Comic Journey is asking a question. What is Scout's policy when dealing with writers, artists, and intellectual property created through its publication? Okay, so Scout is, for the most part, creator-owned. So the Shepherd is creator-owned. I have a 5-year contract with Scout. I can renew it at the end. If I choose to walk at the end of 5 years, I take my IP with me. There are certain IPs that Scout buys a majority interest. So we have a program that's called Script to Comic, and it's done out in Hollywood where screenwriters write these, scripts, and they put them into the contest. And if they win the contest, we'll buy a majority interest where we have like 60% interest or something like that. And then we are essentially in business with them on their on that property. They are writing it for us. The creator is writing it for us. We pay for the art, that type of thing. But those are, by comparison, the vast majority of our titles are creator owned.
Okay, so that answers.
I hope that answers your question.
I'm sure he's going to have a lot.
We could get into the weeds beyond that, but that'll at least get you started.
You're right. Yeah, I'm sure he's going to have a lot of interesting questions. Oh, here's Glenn wants to know, what is your favorite movie? What's your all-time favorite film?
Is that aimed at you or me, or
no? That would be you, because this question stumps people.
That's a loaded question, Glenn, because I think based on genre, I'm going to throw a few movies out at you. In terms of horror, I love Guillermo del Toro's. It's called The Devil's Backbone. It's in Spanish. I recommend it to you wholeheartedly. That's a ghost story. It's a ghost story. I would say that's probably my favorite horror movie. In terms of comedy, I love The Blues Brothers, which is actually kind of a musical comedy because of all the music and singing and everything. So that might be huge fan of Monty Python's The Holy Grail. I don't know if this rings any bells.
Yes, that's a classic. Absolutely. Actually, Glenn is from the UK.
Okay, so romantic movies. My wife and I like The Princess Bride.
Oh, that's a fun one. That's
we're forever quoting lines from that to each other. It's like, get away, witch. I'm not a witch. I'm your wife, and I'm not sure I even want to be that anymore. So, yeah. So there's a lot of movies. There are a lot of great movies. I mean, you could go into war movies. My favorite war movie is A Bridge Too Far.
Oh, cool. Yeah. There's so many movies. Like, I like a lot of foreign films too. Like, I think I like something from every genre of movie. Like silent films. Like, there's something like the old Hollywood. Like,
it's almost unfair comparing.
Gorgeous.
So Gary has seen The Devil's Backbone. Yeah, it is. It really is a fantastic film. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yes, and Aretha Franklin is in The Blues Brothers, and there's quite a few. I'm trying to think. Well, there's I want to say Cab Calloway is in there. I'm trying to think off the top of my head of some of the different. There's the blind pianist. It's not Stevie Wonder. It's the generation before him.
The Ray Charles.
Is it? I think that's it. I think and there's a lot of famous musicians and singers in that.
That one has a lot of musicians.
James Brown, James Brown, yeah. Thank you, Glenn. Ray Charles, you got it too, yeah. But The Blues Brothers. That's an amazing film. It just is. I mean, if you love music and comedy, it's kind of crazy, great. So yeah,
they made a lot of good films. A lot of those guys made a lot of good films together. A lot of fitting films. Okay. Do you have a favorite band or musician?
Favorite band or musician? This is almost by decade. Okay. Oh. So I would say I'm going to rattle off a few for you. Creedence Clearwater Revival.
That's a good band.
Led Zeppelin, U2, Pearl Jam.
Okay.
Smashing Pumpkins. And that's really where it taps out for me, guys, because I'm old. So I'm not really, every once in a while, my daughter or my son will say, hey, you need to hear this, and so but I'm kind of out of the loop. I'll be honest. I'm 55. I'm going to be 56.
Those are great bands. Nothing wrong with those bands.
I've gotten to that point where I'm now listening to the oldies. I've become that guy. So
I think Led Zeppelin probably made enough music for a lifetime.
I would say Led Zeppelin's the greatest band of all time.
They were amazing.
I don't think it's close.
I would have loved to have seen them when they came out originally. To have seen them live, that would have been amazing. All right. I don't know, but do you got a dime number 5?
Do you got a dime number 5? Not sure what that
is. That something that we were referencing earlier? I'm not sure. Let's get back to that.
Okay.
CJ has another interesting question about the previous question.
Okay. Does someone enter the screenwriters contest? It's only open to Hollywood. No, I think it's if you look it up, script the number 2 comic, one word, script 2 comic, you can look at all the rules there. But I don't think there's any limitations that it has to be a screenwriter. I mean, they're essentially submitting a screenplay that then gets converted into a comic book script and then illustrated, lettered, colored, edited, all that. And my role in that is that once they choose these winners, I edit some of those books. Not all of them, but I edit some of them.
Very
and
nice.
It's really amazing. It's a great experience. I hope that, anybody, New Yorkers, even Yankee fans, God forbid. I'm saying this for those of you who are Yankee fans and will probably be offended. I grew up as a Tiger fan, so you have to understand. So there's a certain,
so you hear that, CJ? Yes. So back to your Shepherd comment for a second. Is this your son's first book that he was getting into?
Yeah, I mean, it's his first comic book writing. It was mine as well. I had done writing long before this because I have a doctorate in ancient literature and history.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I did scholarly writing, and I wrote a novel, actually an illustrated novel, even before this. But that was more like focusing. It was like a historical novel.
That's
so
cool.
that I had some experience writing, but it was all scholarly and popular articles, scholarly books.
That's really cool. I'm big into like the old myths and legends, and then like Shakespeare. Then I'll go back and I read like the Bronte and all my European writers.
Greek. I'm particularly, I would say, because of the tone of the Shepherd, I've always been interested in journeys into the afterlife.
Oh,
and you see a lot of those in the Greek and Roman literature.
A lot of the tragedies,
yeah. So, Tolkien is great. I mean, he's a brilliant writer. If my son Roberto was here, he would give you a treatise on how much he loves Tolkien. Yeah, he loves Tolkien.
Have to have him on sometime because Lady Fantastic, I'm sure that's who it's asking that question. It's a huge Tolkien fan.
That's Lady Fantastic. Yeah. No, so yes, absolutely. Tolkien, great writer, unquestionable. So
this is
superhero hero would you kill?
Yes. This is an interesting
question. Would they stay dead? Because
you can. This is up to you. This is a part of the question that's up to you. You can keep them dead or you can have them resurrected. It's up to you.
I'll be honest with you. I'm really not into killing superheroes. And I'll tell you why. Because the world is shitty enough as it is without killing off our heroes. I know they make, I guess in an Elseworlds situation, or even like what they did years ago with killing off Spider-Man in the Marvel's Ultimate line. That was an effective story. But I mean, I thought to myself as I read it, is that this is a well-written story. I think it was Brian Michael Bendis wrote that. It's a good story, but the world's better with Peter Parker in it. We need Peter Parker. We need Peter Parker. Peter Parker is good. We need all the good we can get in this world. So, I understand why they write those stories because it's a chance to tell a dramatic story. And that's what writers always want to do. But I'm not a big fan of killing off heroes. And what it ends up doing, let's be honest with ourselves. Here's what happens. They kill off a character, then they bring in a replacement character who is the character's replacement for a time. Then damn good and well that the original is going to come back. Why? Because ultimately people want to see Batman as Bruce Wayne, Captain America as Steve Rogers, whatever, fill in the blank. So now you have another guy who's also that character. So you have, how many Robins, seriously, before we give it up? It's like, so yeah. Okay, so this is a different question with the AI infiltrating the art world and perhaps event the writer's world. Yeah, this is an example, in my opinion, of technology that's developed that isn't needed. It's like, dudes, we have how many different kinds of uncured cancer, and you're fucking reinventing how to make art, which is something humanity has done for millennia, and by the way, quite well.
They're learning to still do it
quite well. Thank you very much. We don't need that help. You've literally invented something that we already do very, very well. You're just doing it faster. And by the way, standing on the shoulders of other people who've already done the work for you. So does that answer your question? Like Scout would not publish. Our CEO, Brendan Deneen, came out right away and said, hey, we're not publishing AI art, period. That's the end of that. We're just not.
A follow-up question to this. So if someone does send you art, especially if it's from a new artist, you kind of double check to see if it is kind of AR art or if they're.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and Lady Fantastic, yes. She's saying scientists are using AI to expedite data analysis. Yeah, that is helpful. Breaking down data and all that. Yeah, I'm not against technology. Technology is wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm just saying let's use it for stuff like we have climate change. Like let's use it to solve that problem. Let's not, it's like we invented the wheel.
And there's so much out there.
It's like, thank you for that.
Yeah, and there's so much out there, and there's so many people creating on a daily basis that not everyone's art is getting seen. Let them, go look at some of their
we have
stuff.
some amazing artists out there, and I just, and trust me on it when I say this, artists are not getting overpaid for the most part. There are a lot of that. Starving artist is a real thing.
Very true. All right, so Nin has a question here.
Yeah. I see that you have a wide range of variant covers with different art styles. What sort of directions do you give to an artist to make covers for you? Okay. So those of you, let's say there's some artists in the group. I don't know if there are or not, but if there are, we are always looking for artists. Okay. Always. If you're interested, and what I do is I collect portfolios. I would like a PDF portfolio where you show me an array of your art. Show me what you can do. Are you a cover artist or are you cover artist and interiors? What do you do? Are you a colorist? Are you a letterer? Put together a PDF. Show me your range. Because remember, I don't have just horror stories that need artists. I have fantasy stories that need artists or sci-fi. So if you can do those things or have done them, let's see it. And then put it in a PDF. Give me your price range, expected price range. Be reasonable, because keep in mind, the people that are usually footing the bill are the writers, and like, just to give you a ballpark, is my budget per page is usually around the ballpark of, for everything, $150, $160. So like, okay. I'm looking to pay myself $100 a page for pencils and inks. Okay. I'm looking to pay $30 to $40 for coloring per page, and $12 to $15 a page for lettering. That's what I'm looking to do. And it's not that you couldn't pay more. It's just that the writer doesn't make anything, so it's like, it's literally so far in the red, it's not even funny. So in fact, I tell my creators, if you're a writer creating comics, there's two ways you fund this. One is getting an extra job, which is what I did, or doing crowdfunding. That's how you do it. But you're going to be the one footing the bill one way or the other. You're going to have to generate the money. So,
yeah, I kind of like crowdfunding. I
hope I didn't depress you too much there.
No, you did not. There's actually a ton of artists and writers in the chat. Actually, there's a ton.
Please check out Katie's art.
Oh, mine? Yeah, no, my portfolio is nowhere near ready to show anybody at all.
I'd love to see it, actually. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I'm always open to seeing the portfolios. And what I do, just so you know, is I have writers, because I'm an editor. I deal with writers all the time. And I have writers say, hey, I'm looking to do a story that's sci-fi. Do you have anybody that you think, my first question to them is, what's your budget?
Okay.
And based on that budget, I say, okay, I have these 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 portfolios here. Take a look and see. And then if they like it, built into that portfolio, I need all your contact information. I should have said that as well. Then the artist and the writer deal with it from there. So in other words, I'm not getting a cut on this. I'm not a middleman. All I do is, because I'm an editor, I work with lots of writers. I try to help them. I like artists. I like artists as human beings and want to help them. So I put them together and then let them run from there. That's how it works.
Yeah. Do you have any suggestions on people that might not know about how to go about pricing their work?
Well, like I said, you need to understand, like a lot of times you hear this business, you need to be making X amount of money per page. Well, yeah, in a perfect world, that would be super. But what I'm telling you is, in the world that we live in, this world, writers who are paying for the art, they get very little royalties. So the first thing I would tell an artist, and listen to me carefully here, don't take a deal on the back end. Don't anybody take a deal. If you're a writer, don't take a deal on the back end.
Yikes.
Because there's usually no back end. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's like my royalty checks are usually, it's like, hey, honey, we're going to go out for a Happy Meal. This time you can have cheeseburger.
Toys might, come up in value someday.
Well, you got to keep in mind, you see that picture she put up of volume 1, lads? That volume 1 cost me $23,000. Yeah. That's not counting the cover, which I'm not even going to tell you what it cost because it was expensive. Okay. Now, that said, I will tell you this. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but those are the originals of that. I have David Mack originals in my office. And yes, I am as cool as you think I am.
We already had people in chat say you were very cool.
No, I'm not very cool. But, it's expensive. That's the thing you need to understand. Making comics is expensive. You need to understand that. And so if you're an artist, you have to price yourself. You want to have customers. You want artists or writers that can actually afford to hire you, So it needs to be that kind of middle ground where you recognize that they cannot afford to pay you. Most writers can't afford to pay you $200 a page. It's not that I begrudge it. It's just I can't afford to do it, Okay. Now, if the writer does a huge Kickstarter and they make, $80,000 on a Kickstarter, then get your page rate.
Okay, that's different.
But you need to be aware of the situation, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I actually like Kickstarters. I think it's a good way for people to find lesser known artists or lesser known publishers and get out there and kind of like test their waters and find new books. Because I back a lot of them, and I find stuff all the time that I never would have seen in store. Or probably would have never been funded if it wasn't for Kickstarter.
Kickstarters are great. That's a great way to, to make money for the creators and to get people to support it. I think Kickstarters need to be paired with the work that publishers do, because if you look at it, like I had a friend of mine did a Kickstarter that was very successful, $70-some thousand, which I would consider to be a very good Kickstarter, but he only had 400 and some backers. Now that's good in Kickstarter, but I want you to understand, if you convert that to readers, 450 readers is not very big. Okay. So the ideal, I would say, is if you have the Kickstarter and then, that helps you generate the money to produce the books. And then you have a publisher that can help you distribute the books. That's the ideal, to do that, because the publishers are built to distribute stuff and they can do more than an individual can do. It's just that simple. Only so many hours in the day.
That makes sense.
Actual Dracula, I see, is asking about the Scout accept submissions from creators looking for work or just those who have their own project plan. Okay, we do have, if you go to scoutcomics.com, you will see that there is a submissions tab. We are always looking for projects, but the way it works is we want you to come to us with a creative team intact. So typically we want 6 to 8 pages of finished product so we can see what you're, and then of course you're giving us your synopsis. It's all there on the website in detail for you. But we are very open to getting submissions. We're always happy to get them. Like I said, the creators looking for work, that's what I was getting at about sending a portfolio. You can send me a portfolio. I can give you, if you have your pencil down, I'll give it to you right now. You can send me a portfolio. My email is Andrea, Andrea .Lorenzo, LORENZO Molinari, MOLINARI @scoutcomics.com. That's my editor email. You can put together a PDF. Like I said, give me your range of your art, give me a pricing, give me all your contact information. Because like I said, what I will do is take your portfolio for the writer who's interested in working with an artist of your budget and your style. I'll send that to them and then they'll take it from there. Okay. So I hope that helps.
That helps. I'll actually paste that in the chat.
Okay. Yeah. So I hope that helps you, Actual Dracula. answer that.
I started a bunch of comments, so we can get back to that also. I'm trying to catch up.
That's there, Spider. That's what I'm getting at right there. So, but yeah, I mean, it's not usually as bad as that. But yeah, I mean, you got to keep in mind, if you're putting thousands of dollars into to creating a book or a novel, and then you get hundreds of dollars back in return, the math doesn't work, people, think about that. So yeah, you got to do it. So how do you feel about the current writers' strike? I support the writers. I think writers should be paid a living wage. That's really what they're asking for. Unfortunately, it does not affect us directly in the comic industry, because basically comic book writers are freelancers. You have a few that sign exclusive contracts with a publisher like DC or Marvel, but that's like a small fraction of 1% of the writers that do that. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm all in favor of writers getting paid more, because think about it. Where do the ideas for our entertainment come from? They come from creators, whether it be the writer themselves, the writer working with the artist, or the artist doing the writing and the art. That's where it comes from in comics, at least. But and same thing with, a screenwriter. They're creating these story concepts and worlds, and and it's not too much to ask that you get a living wage for your creative work like that. Price range for cover work. Well, it ranges, because you have to ask yourself, like, what are you going to do with this cover? Like for me, I was willing to pay, like, for David Mack's art, for several reasons. Number one, because he's my favorite comic book artist. Number two, because he also gives you the original art, which they will have to pry out of my cold, dead hand. I'm never going to sell that in my lifetime. And then, of course, I'm using it for my trade, which is the book that I sell the most. When I'm getting people onto the Shepherd, that's the book that I sell. So to me, paying more for the trade paperback cover that is going to be a mainstay on my table display, I'm willing to do more. But to give you a specific answer, I would say, from what I've seen at Scout, at least, if you're a cover artist, I would say if you price yourself between 200 and 500, you'll probably have a lot of work if you price it in there.
Okay.
That's what ideally I would like to be in that neighborhood.
That's
because again, it's all taking you deeper into the hole. I mean, that's the way it works. But I don't begrudge it. I mean, I'm proud of every cover I've ever commissioned. I keep as much of the original art as I possibly can. I mean,
oh, that's cool.
This is a piece of original art. I had a buddy of mine. His name is Chris Hamer. He did that.
Wait, hold on,
it's very chaotic looking, which I think it captures kind of that lost soul aspect of the Shepherd that is really characteristic of the character early on in that first novel. And so this one, I put it in I'm mounted. I've got to get it hung up in my office. But
that's
yeah,
cool.
I mean, no, I value the work that the artists have done for me, and I try to give them a fair wage. I'd give them more. Just it's what I can afford at the time, and I always give them what they ask for, and I'm always honest. So like if they want more than I can afford, it's not that you're not worth that money. You are. I just can't afford it. So I wish you well.
Probably has to do also on how well a title is doing, because you probably have bigger budget on a.
Yeah, if the title is doing really well, but it's hard for that to be the case for a smaller company, because by definition, if you look at how the sales are going, you have Marvel and DC make up about 66 to 70%. It changes, it fluctuates, but ballpark, you throw in the next one, say like Image, what are they, like 9% or something like that of the so you get those two together, you get the top three. By the time you've got the top three, you're probably 75 to 80% of the market. So what sort of deadlines does the production of your books generally have? Now, we don't give deadlines to our work.
Interesting.
No, we don't. Because first of all, we're looking for quality and we want it to be the best it can be. And also you need to understand is that the people that are publishing with Scout are not pros like the ones that publish for DC and Marvel, because they're not getting, it's not that their quality isn't good. I want you to understand that. It's just that I don't call a person a pro who doesn't live off the work. You know, now the artist might, but probably not off of doing one project at a time. You know, most of these artists that I work with, they're working on multiple projects simultaneously. They're cobbling together a living. And it's because the artist can't, most writers can't pay them a living wage on their book. You know, I certainly couldn't. And how long would you like for the Shepherd series? I guess, is that the question? Or we're asking how long would the Shepherd series go?
I assume it would be for the Shepherd question.
Okay. That's a good question. You know, I think Roberto and I from the beginning have always thought about telling, for the most part, like novels, like writing novels. You know, we're always thinking in terms of that. So yeah, figure drawing. Sadly, it's, you know, yeah, it is hard to make a living doing the drawing. Absolutely, yeah. So anyway, getting back to the question that was asked about how long do I want the series to go? As long as we have good stories to tell, we'll try to keep going. You know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of money. I'm very lucky because my wife is incredibly supportive. You know, she does pretty well. And she's basically told me, this makes you happy. The kids are all raised now, you know, just do it. The kids are doing it with you, you know, so with that support, it makes it possible, you know, because, you know, I make money as an editor. I don't make money as a writer. Let's put it that way. Because like I said, the money is all going in one direction and it's not coming in, you know? Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
I depress all the writers out there. They're all like, yeah, I know. You know, it's a tough way to go, but you do it. I tell my creators all the time, you do this because you're passionate about it. That's what keeps you going.
Oh, for sure.
Passionate about creating stories, telling stories.
And you are very passionate about the books that you have at Scout Comics, because that's what drew me to the booth that you guys had, to what got me to buy books from your table, because you were so thrilled to be talking about the stories and things that you had that it was fun to talk to you when you were there.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the great things about being an editor is that I would describe it this way. Remember when you were a kid and you got to go over to a friend's house and play with their toys?
Yes.
Okay. So remember how happy that made you? It was like, oh, these are all brand new toys. It wasn't new to your friend, but it was new to you.
Oh, right? That's funny.
So as an editor, I get to go into all these other people's worlds, their backyards, and play with their toys. Freaking great, you know. So yeah, as a writer, are you kidding? And my whole role as an editor, I always tell my creators, I'm not trying to take over your story. I'm not trying to control your product. All I'm trying to do is give you a fresh set of eyes and telling you, here's what I see. Here's what I think is happening. You know, here's how I think you could improve it. And then let them decide, you know, from there. Editing for Scout for a creator-owned company is very different than Marvel or DC. So if I were editing for Marvel, they would say, well, there are limits to what you can do with the characters. You can't kill off Spider-Man without permission that goes way up to the top, because they make money off Spider-Man. They're not
money maker.
Yeah. You know, but you know, when you're dealing with a creator-owned title, they can do what they want with their title. You know. Anyway, yeah. I have one friend who has all the G.I. Joe vehicles. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, essentially, yeah.
That's funny. So Barb's comment here is, when I had Marco on, I actually gave away a copy of Kingjira. So when you're done reading it, let us know how you like it. I'm thoroughly. Yeah, I have a feeling you're going to like it.
I helped to bring him to Scout. We brought him for Kingjira and Pentagram of Horror. He's done Pentagram of Horror. And he's rolling out a title called Space Outlaws, which, do not sleep on that one. That's a mixture Western. It's what you think it is. Western sci-fi.
Oh, it looks good. It looks really good. And I don't know what he's doing with the Count Orlocks, but I can't wait to see that. Whatever's happening with that looks amazing.
He's a very good human being. I love that guy.
I would gladly do movie-thons with him any day.
Yeah.
Okay, so as these guys were chatting, I kind of saved some questions that we kind of skipped. So we have CJ's question. CJ's going to ask all the intense questions. So let's see if you could get some of these questions in.
What do you feel is a bigger threat, AI or overseas talent working for $1 per hour? Well, I haven't met any of this overseas talent that's working for $1 an hour. Oh. I do work with overseas talent. My artists are predominantly Spaniards and Italians, and they're not working for $1 an hour. I pay them what they ask, and like I said, if I can't afford their page rate, I thank them anyway, but I'm not trying to talk them down. It's like, I know what I can afford, and, I can't. It's like when you go to a car lot, would I like to drive a Maserati? Yeah, I would like to drive a Maserati. What am I currently driving? I'm driving a Toyota Prius. Why? Because the gas mileage, I'm getting over 50 miles to the gallon. And I need that
for all the cons that you're going
to. So, you have to live within your means. I would tell you, I tell my creators this, Comic Journey, I would be very careful about artists that don't charge a reasonable rate if they're too low, because I'd ask myself, well, why? Why are you charging so low? If your art is this good, you deserve a reasonable remuneration for that work. I would be very careful about that. I really would. I want to work with an artist that knows their own value, that understands the market, that they can't charge me $1,000 a page. I can't afford to pay it. It's not that their art isn't good enough. It's just that they have so few writers can afford that, so they need to be in the general ballpark. And I will tell you, from what I've seen, if an artist is charging in that $90 to $130 or so a page, pencils and inks, you're probably going to have a steady supply of work there. Okay. Once you start going above that, it's going to get into more rarefied air, and there's going to be fewer and fewer writers that can afford you. So, now you may say, well, I'll then hold out for that. And okay, that's cool. I wish you the best, because if our artists can get $150 a page, then God bless you. It's not that I begrudge it. I just can't afford it.
This is all very fascinating, because I've never really heard about some comic people talk about pricing, which is great, because I know a lot of people that are probably either not confident enough or have never really thought about pricing their art in order to even know where to even start from. So do you think when someone does submit their art to you, but they give you a lower amount, do you see that more with like people just kind of recently starting out?
Yeah, I talk to the artists about that. I don't want them to get taken advantage of. That's not what we're trying to do. So I would always tell them what I told you just now, is say, if their art isn't really ready, I would tell them, I'd be honest about that and say, okay, I think you've got some potential here, but my recommendation is take some more art classes, keep grinding, because that's what makes, artists improve, they evolve, writers improve and evolve. And the only way you do it is by doing it. Get good coaching, in the case of go to classes, get some, other artists that are better than you to give you tips and stuff like that. But if the artist does look like they're ready to go, then I would say, okay, that price you're asking, that's nice of you, but you can't eat, you can't feed your family on that. That's not right. We don't want that for you. I don't want you to be your children starving. I don't want to take advantage of you. You deserve a fair wage. So let's work on that. Let's say, here's what I recommend. If you, like I said, if you're in that 90 to 130, you're probably going to be able to have steady work.
That's really good to know, because I think a lot of people, when they're just starting out, aren't really confident in their work, because they're not really they don't really have the confidence in their artwork yet until they start getting that feedback and then get the pricing and all that stuff. So I think that's really good base.
Keep in mind too, I'm talking to you about what it's like working at Scout. Okay, I'm not an editor at Dark Horse or Image or Boom. What they're would counsel was maybe different, maybe probably more. Hopefully, for God's sake, I hope it's more, because Dark Horse should be able to sell more books than we sell. You know, they have a bigger market share than we have. It's just that simple. You know,
Yeah.
So their artists that publish there should get a better page rate.
What year did Scout kind of come on the scene?
2014. Marco Fontanelli. I was just talking about you.
Yes.
This man is very talented and a wonderful human being. I have only good things to say about Marco Fontanelli.
We had a lot of fun last week. He's a great guy, great guest. Yes,
he has been a blessing to Scout. He does wonderful covers. In fact, if you look right there, this is actually Marco Fontanelli's work. It's a cover that he did for a one-shot that my daughter and I did called The Pit. And it's basically a story about a ghost dog that died in a dogfighting ring and comes to the children of the shepherd who have paranormal abilities. If you read volume 1, you'll see they can see the dead. Okay. The dog comes to them and basically leads them to where the other dogs are being held. So we won't say anymore because we don't want to.
Definitely don't want to give it.
Yeah, but that's Marco's work. I also have here.
Yes.
This is a metal plate that I have of Kingjira. I hope I'm not getting. This is the coffee. You know, did Marco tell you that he actually has a coffee?
Yes. Someone asked him what it tasted like. They were trying to figure out what it tasted like.
It's got a pineapple flavor. So what I recommend with it is if you buy this, and by the way, you can buy this at Comics on Coffee. One word, Comics on Coffee. Yeah, you can. The Shepherd also has a coffee. Hold on here, I'll show you.
Oh, okay.
I actually have a bag of Marco stuff too. Hold on here.
Oh, great. Because Marco's actually saying he started being really confident in his art thanks to you and Scout.
Hold on here. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Okay, so just a second. So this is Mr. Fontanelli's coffee. And it's good. I mean, because it has well, first of all, I would tell you Marco needs to be confident in his own art, because Marco's art, when I say that Marco's art is good, it's like saying water is wet, the sky is blue. It doesn't require a great deal of intellectual activity on my part. It's like, yeah, it's pretty frigging amazing. Everybody can.
And he has several different styles too that I really enjoy.
Oh yeah, yeah, he's super talented. He just is. It's just a fact. So
we're making him blush all the way over there.
We're gonna have to talk. But anyway, his coffee has like a pineapple flavor. So what I recommend is you actually put a little bit of coconut milk instead of creamer in the coffee. So in the morning, you're getting a little pina colada action. So,
nice.
Which I don't know if that's a good thing, but there it is. And then, like I said, the Shepherd also has a coffee. Mine is not flavored because I'm not flashy. Mine is just a good, smooth, medium roast.
Oh, you're gonna have to have a coffee taste on it.
And I love coffee, so I was thrilled. The idea that my title would actually have its own coffee, I've never dreamed such a thing.
How do you market something? Like, how do you figure out how to come up with your own coffee blends when you're doing that?
Well, the way it worked out, which is actually kind of funny, is that I'm going to comment about coffee and then keep that question up there from Joe. I will answer your question, Joe, I promise. So we actually have a company, Comics on Coffee. Actually, their headquarters is like an underhand softball throw from Scout HQ in Fort Myers. And we got to talking with them. They love comics. We love coffee. It was kind of like, duh, we should get together. We should hang out, you know? So, they picked out some of our titles, including The Shepherd, and they said, hey, let's do coffee. And all you need to do is pick out the flavor that you'd like. And my wife and I talked about it. And I just said, you know what? I really just like a good, smooth, drinkable coffee. You know, I don't need it to be fancy. I just need something that's got good, strong flavor. And this does. So anyway, there's lots of different options, but Comics on Coffee also has DC Comics coffee too. They have Superman. They've got the Joker. They've got Batman, which by the way is dark roast. Big surprise.
K-Pods as well.
Yeah. And they've of course got the Kingjira coffee. So, I mean, what more could you possibly want? All right. So asking Joe, does Scout have an art department? we really don't have an art department per se. What we do have is kind of like a committee of leadership within Scout. Our head of design, Marcus Guillory, our president, James Hake, and our editor-in-chief, Richard Rivera, are the primary decision makers for all the covers. We have a stable. By the way, we do hire a stable of artists, Marco being one of them. We're very lucky to have Marco as part of that group, where we give the artist like a contract for 10 covers at a time. And we offer them, here's the cover, here's a book that needs a cover. If you're interested, if it excites you, then you can do it. You don't have to do it. But if you think that you've got an idea for this cover, then do one, propose it to us. And then they make the decisions. I get to just basically I'm on the emails, but I don't usually comment too much unless I'm just cheering from the sidelines, because the artists are very talented. They don't need any advice from me. Like Marco, like what would I say to Marco? It's like, Marco, I think you need to add a line right there. What would I possibly say? My job is just encouraging him. So, and I work on the story. That's where my forte is. So I the beginning of wisdom is to know that one does not know, so I leave the art to those who know it, and I focus on the story. I love that there's coffee with that book. Kind of don't want to open the package because I want to preserve the packaging. Well, the good news is you can order another one. So, and the coffee's good.
Also true.
A good smooth Jack Daniels. Yeah, well, it's hard to argue with that, Kevin.
You're looking for Superman coffee?
There is Superman coffee. There is. Go to Comics on Coffee.
I linked it, Glenn. So.
Yeah, it's there. Superman coffee. And I think it's like a vanilla something.
Great choice, Drac.
Dracula coffee. Yeah. Yeah. Well, if Marcus does that Count Orlak thing, we could do some dark roast with perhaps cherry amaretto.
Oh,
symbolize the blood kind of thing.
I'd be down for that. I would buy that. I love amaretto.
I know one thing is that I know nothing. Yeah, I'll tell you, honest to God truth, what my PhD taught me was that what I know could be put in a thimble with room to spare. That's what the education taught me. And that's okay. That is okay to not know, because that's what spurs us to try to know, right?
True. Okay. So back to the Mignola thing. Biggie Shack was saying dime number 5, but then he corrected it. Dime press number 4 was his Mignola's first cover art.
Okay. Yeah, no, I haven't seen it. I'd love to see what that is. I guess I'll have to look it up. Dime number 5. Yeah, okay. Dime number 5.
Okay.
I'll definitely check that out. Yeah, I love Mignola stuff. I really do. I've actually asked Mignola for a cover, and I got turned down, but he turned me down in the nicest, kindest way possible.
Oh, really?
I was just like, that was so sweet, because I felt guilty. I was like, I told him, I said, look, when I wrote to him, I said, I want you to know I'm a huge fan of your work. So if in any way doing this cover would detract from your other work, do your other work, because the world needs more of your work. So just do it. If you can fit me in, I'd be honored. But yeah, that's kind of on my bucket list, is I'd like to get a Mike Mignola cover someday.
Ooh, would you like to just create a story just for him to do the whole thing front to back?
I'll tell you right now, I would love to do a team up with Hellboy and the Shepherd. I just think it could totally work. Cool. I mean, my character's a ghost. It's supernatural.
That would fit. That would really fit in that world, I think.
Oh, I think so. And here's the thing. I have this theory. I'd love to tell it to Mike Mignola. It's like they always have this thing where like one of the few, I think, missteps, if any missteps with Hellboy, was this whole idea that, like he has to be this evil force. He's not an evil force. You are ultimately defined by what you do, not what you say. It's what you do that ultimately defines your character. And if you look at him, all he does is help people. And so I thought about this conversation, like I could imagine the Shepherd sitting, having a beer with Hellboy and saying, you have all these questions about who you are and your place in the universe. Have you ever considered that you might be a guardian angel?
Ooh.
Because demons are angels. They're just angels, and you're beautiful. What you do, you help people. You do good things, and that's all you ever do. And you're selfless. there's not an evil bone in your body, bud. Don't let them tell you anything otherwise. You are what you do, you know? So anyway, that's the conversation I would love to write between the shepherd and the,
that would be a good story. I like that.
Because I just think Hellboy's a great character. I mean, I'm not just saying this. I just show you here. I've got up on my shelf.
No, Hellboy's fantastic. I love Hellboy.
Oh, yeah. This is I don't have a lot of these. In fact, I only have 3 of these. I've got Lobster Johnson. And then the other one I've got over on the shelf there is Liz. So hold on.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I've always wanted to get the Abe Sapien from this set, but I've never found him where he's reasonably priced. He's just, I think that bus has left the station. So
yeah, as you can clearly see, I'm a huge sucker for toys.
Yeah. No, I had to limit it. When the kids were little, I'll tell
mascot.
you, when the kids were little, I had a shelf up around their bedroom of nothing but action figure superheroes. You know, which is so.
Okay. So,
what comics inspired you to start writing and get into this industry? Well, if you heard the beginning of the interview, the answer to that is I accidentally stumbled into the industry. I never planned to be a comic book writer. Never. I spent 11 years in college, got a PhD, and I started teaching. I taught for 12 and a half years, most of that at grad school. And really that nightmare that I had, the idea, and then my son kicking me in the rear repeatedly and saying, you need to write this. We need to do this. You know, that's what kind of got me into it. I never really planned to do it. I wouldn't have had the first clue of how to get into the comic book industry. It just kind of, once we had made it as a comic book, we thought, well, we got to get it published. So I just kept sending it to publisher after publisher after publisher until finally Caliber Comics said, yeah, we'll do it. So I was with Caliber for 5 years. And then in 2020, I finished my 5-year term with Caliber and then signed with Scout. So I hope that answers it. It's probably not a dramatic story. There's lots of comics that do inspire me, though. I mean, certainly The Dark Knight Returns was a huge influence on me. The Crow, another one that was a huge influence.
I adore The Crow, and I geeked out so hard at Astra when I got to meet James because I loved his work. It's so good.
Yeah. There's plenty of other books too, though, like the Light Brigade. There's a lot of books that have influenced me. And then the superheroes that you would expect, Daredevil, Spider-Man, Batman, Green Arrow was always a favorite of mine. I like the street level heroes for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to save this real quick so I can show you because he sent me a picture of the cover so we can show it to you. Okay. All right. So let's go back here.
Glenn is an overseas talent, he says. So see that.
He is.
You work with people that concepts. Yeah, I mean, I am a freelance editor, so I do help people prepare stories and submit them to publishers, including Scout. I'm actually working with a comedian. I'm not going to give you her name, but you could. I mean, she's active and a known quotient. She's working on a comic book. And we have scripted issue 1, and we now have an artist. I helped her find an artist. The artist is working on the art. We've got colorists lined up and letterer lined up. And right now, this week, I just helped. We're putting the finishing touches on the script for issue 2. It's going to be a 4-issue series. So I do work with people that are outside of Scout.
Oh, that's very cool.
Okay. I would definitely say, Comic Journey, that if you were going to do that, I would say I would want to create scripts. Like I would, when you're making a comic, I would say I want my scripts to be completely written out before we start the art. Because if you have to make changes and now you have to adjust the art, that's expensive. It's very easy to make changes on a script. Not so easy to make changes on art. It costs you money. Never think I asked you this, Marco, how you started working as an editor for Scout. You started as a writer, and then they asked you to also be an editor. Okay, so I began, keep in mind that, like I said, I started my career as a scholar. So I was editing other scholars' work as well as my own. And I got known because my undergraduate degree is in journalism. So I actually had classes in editing, you know. So I was helping out other professors with scholarly articles, with books, that type of thing. So that was my background. And then when I came to Caliber, I was now with Caliber. And at that time, Gary Reed, who had founded Caliber, who brought the Crow, you know, gave it a contract for Caliber. That's where it started out, was with Caliber Comics. I was talking with him one day and I said, you know, I sent my book proposal of The Shepherd out to almost 40 publishers, and most of them I never even heard anything back. They didn't even tell me go jump in a lake, you know, which would have been fine. I'm like, you know, it's not for everybody, right? And I said, why is that? And he said, well, you got to keep in mind, most of these small publishers, Caliber included, are kind of a one-man show or very small staff. So it's like, he said, looking at submissions is only one thing that I do of 100 things that I do, you know? And I said, well, you know, I have a doctorate in literature. I taught college. I work with grad students. I've helped them write, you know, theses and stuff like that. I could look at some of these submissions for you and at least evaluate them, tell you what I think of the story, what I think of the art overall, what I think needs to be done to improve it, if it's a go, or what do you know, just evaluate each one. He said, oh, that would be great. But then he didn't do anything about it. And so several months passed. This is in 2018, Marco. And so I reminded him, I said, you know, it's like in the summer. And I said, you know, I can help you if you want. And so when I said that to him, I think it triggered something. So he ended up sending me like a Dropbox with like 40 submissions all at once. I think this was his subtle way of telling me to shut up. You know, he's going to teach me a lesson. 40, can you imagine 40 submission packages thrown at you? But what he hadn't taken really into consideration is that's just one class when you're a college professor. You get that at the end of every semester. It's like, show me something I haven't seen, baby. Is that your fastball? Because, you know, I can hit that fastball. So basically within 3 days I had evaluated all 40 of them and I sent them back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But that's what you got to do if you're a professor. I mean, think about it. You're teaching, you know, 3 or 4 classes, and each of those classes you've signed a paper, you know, and you have maybe 20 to 40 people in a class. Well, you better be able to process stuff fast. Otherwise you're going to be in trouble. So anyway, I sent it back to him. And from that point on, he took me seriously, and he would send stuff to me and we'd evaluate. And we didn't always agree about what should be done with the book. But, you know, from that point on, he started having me, you know, submit, work on the submissions, evaluate submissions, give them to him. And as I was going out representing Caliber Comics, I started finding books and bringing them back to him for him to look at and say, hey, I think this book could really be cool with Caliber. I think we could do something with this. And he would take some and some he didn't, but more often than not, I'd say about 80% of them he'd take. So that's what got me started. And sometimes he would accept a book and say, okay, you evaluated this, you talked me into this, now you fix it. You shepherd it, so to speak, and get it to where it needs to be so we can publish it. So I did. And that's how I got started, Marco, with the editing.
That's
and then
neat.
You know, and then when I was out and about, you know, I met the guys from Scout, and they found out about my editing. They, you know, we did a lot of talking. We found that we started really thinking alike. And so when my contract ended with Caliber, I knew it was time to come, you know, to Scout, and they offered me the opportunity and made me editorial director. So
that's super cool.
It's been a good move. It's been a really good move because I'm really close with the leadership, James, Richard, and we work really well together. We talk multiple times a day. Marcus, who's the head of design, you know, I see these guys like brother. They're like brothers to me.
It sounds like you have a really good family there.
We do. I mean, we care about each other, you know, like these guys matter to me, you know? Yeah. That's the best way to put it, I guess.
It has to be really exciting too when you see like a new person coming in for like the first time. They start off like little and they finally go and get their stuff published. That has to be really exciting.
It is. It's, you know, I tell people this all the time. I have a philosophy of education, like when I was a professor, like, and I got this. I want to tell you where I got it. It was actually from St. Augustine. And St. Augustine, he writes this work about teaching catechesis or teaching people the faith, but the application works for any kind of teaching. And he talked about how a teacher, to be the best teacher, you have to love your student and you want only good for them. And as an editor, in a lot of ways, you're a teacher. And so what I do is I love my creators that I'm working with. Like Marco, I love this guy. I see him, you know, I kind of view him as a little brother. You know, I say little brother because I'm much older than Marco, you know, but I love him and I want him to do well. I'm happy to see him do well. I am not diminished by him doing well. You know, I could see the sky's the limit for Marco. I could see him doing an amazing Batman. He already has done Batman. I don't know if he told you that.
No.
Yeah, it's not published by DC. It's a fan.
Oh, no, he did talk about that.
Oh,
yeah. No.
Make him show you. Make him show you his Batman. It's good. It's real good. You know? He could do Batman. He could do it very well. It would be a very dark, creepy Batman, but it would totally rock.
I would love to see you do a Lobo, just saying.
Oh, he could do any of that. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I know you could do that. Yeah.
I think Marco likes to do, he's told me this many times, he likes to do his own projects in his own way. And we kind of recognize that he's a great talent. We just give him room. So anyway.
Okay. Yeah. I like everything that he's been putting out. It's all up my alley. I like, come on, keep throwing it out here.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I will tell you this. So Glenn, you know, from an editorial point of view, the most common thing that is wrong with an IP or a project that comes in is the lettering has to be redone, is the most common thing. And a lot of times what you have is a creator who thinks, oh, I'm going to save a few bucks and I'll letter it. No one will be able to tell. Oh, we can tell.
Ooh.
Yeah, we can tell. It's like a huge red flag. It's like, yeah, this guy has no clue of what they're doing. And that's going to get redone by a professional letterer. So that's the most common. Now, with the coloring, yeah, you can have situations where the book needs to be recolored. You know, like I've seen it where, you know, we say, okay, we like your story concept. We like your pencils and inks. The colors don't work for us. We will offer you a contract with the understanding that we will only publish it if it's recolored. And we'll give you some suggestions about colorists that, you know, we like their work. Reasonable price. Obviously, we're not trying to, you know, we don't make any money by recommending colorist X, you know, but we say this is a colorist that we value their work. We think it's of a professional quality and we want you can use this colorist or somebody like that of that quality to do the coloring, you know, that'll happen.
I think that's very important too. When you have a colorist, like an inker, a letterer, when they work together, because it all just enhances each other's work and it just makes the story shine.
Now, Glenn, I want you to understand this, is that what I'm proposing to you is different than a lot of the big publishers do. So like, for example, Dark Horse, they're not fixing anything. If you're not on point, I would say they're editing it, you know, but for the most part, I don't think that they're recoloring anything or having you recolor anything or re-letter anything because they're expecting the quality to be there. We are because we're a small publisher, we have to take the fourth round draft pick and turn them into a starter, if that makes sense. There's a little football analogy for you. You know, we got to take those things. We have to see the potential and then help them get to where they need to be.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. No, they don't. They don't get
No, they don't.
Credit.
Letters and colorists don't get enough credit. And there are some really amazing ones out there that really lift the quality of the work. Like I would tell you, like if you want to see some amazing coloring, she goes by the name Panta Ray. Her real name is Teresa. She's an Italian. She does the coloring for a scout book called Sweet Downfall. And it's about a crash test dummy that has been repurposed by the mob as a hit. Yeah, I'm not making this up. And he finds out one day that the mob has kidnapped a mermaid. And he falls in love with the mermaid and decides to save her and set her free. And blood blood is spilled. Some blood is spilled. Anyway, Panta Ray does the colors for that, and that just lifts. Her colors just absolutely lift that book. You know,
that sounds.
The artwork is done by Stefano Carticelli, who's
awesome.
Very talented as well. And we have a number of books. In fact, this is right there. That is Stefano Carticelli's work. He's known for watercolors and heavy inks like this. It's just, he's an amazing talent too.
Is that the cover that's on the copy?
Yes, it is. Quite so. Yeah, no, I love Stefano. I'm a huge, if you think about it, David Mack's a watercolor artist, right?
Yes.
What is Stefano doing? Watercolors.
Watercolors.
I'm a huge fan of watercolors. They're a very hard form of art to master.
You know, it also makes sense it's on a mega copy because a lot of watercolorists do copy art.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I'm trying to go back to some of the older questions that we had in here because it's been a hot minute.
If you could choose any character to write a story about, who would it be and why? It would be, you know, I would love to do that Hellboy story or something in the Mike Mignola universe because number one, I respect greatly what he's done. What he's done is I don't think people really fully understand the magnitude of what he's done, and the size of his universe that he's created is truly amazing. I love the supernatural stories that he tells and the spiritual components to them, you know, the journeys in the afterlife, all that stuff. It's really right up my alley. So I would say it's like Hellboy or BPRD, something along those lines, something Mignola for sure. For DC, I like Ragman. Are you familiar with Ragman?
Yes.
DC, I would write Ragman. That's probably the only DC character that I'd be interested. I know that sounds weird, but it's like, do I love Batman? Yeah, I love Batman. Do I think I have a unique Batman story to tell? No. I don't think anybody has a unique Batman story to tell. I really don't. I think we've told them all. Now I could be proven wrong, but I'm just saying, you know, at a certain point, you're riffing on the work that somebody else has already done. Let's be honest, you know. Yeah. And I'm thinking Marvel. Yeah, Daredevil. I love Daredevil. I'd love to write a Daredevil story. Again, I'm not sure that I have anything unique to add to it, though. You know, realistically. So
I think my chat is like frozen. So. So do you want to answer his Nam's question quick? While I see if I
is artist responsible for colorist? No. Usually the artist can be consulted. Like usually the one who puts together the creative team is typically the writer. So that writer is usually the one that's hiring the colorist. Now, most writers will consult with, you know, their artist because sometimes the artist has a colorist they've worked with before that they really like. And if they can afford them, that's wonderful. They already have this kind of a relationship where they're familiar with their artist style and that's great, you know.
Okay. I think it calmed down now. It's still lagging. Okay.
I have written a novel. It's called Climbing the Dragon's Ladder. I'm looking because I actually have a painting over here of one of the covers for this. Right there, that dragon right there. But that I have written one novel and I probably will not write another novel. Let me tell you why, because it's a fuck ton of work. It is a lot of work. And no, I don't want to do that. Life is too damn short because you literally have to stop everything else in your life and become a complete hermit to do it effectively. So no, I don't want to do it again. I like graphic novels. They're faster to write.
That makes a lot of sense because I was assuming
how's that for honest? Is that
so much?
You know, God bless you. God bless you. No, I'm not going to do it.
Oh my!
It's cool that we nurture artists. Yeah, we try to. I mean, you know, we love them. We love artists. We love our writers too. You know, I don't know if this was asked, but what is your favorite comic to come out of Scout? You're going to get me in trouble. I am going to be political and say I'm not supposed to have favorites. Okay. However, there are a number of books that have come out of Scout. I will tell you I'll name off 3 books that I didn't edit. I had nothing to do with these books at all. They were before my time, but I love them. Okay. So we have a book called Yasmin. It's a story, and you may have seen it on my table. It's a story of a Iraqi family that is fleeing the violence in Iraq. And the oldest daughter, Yasmin, accidentally gets separated from her family as they're trying to leave, and she's taken captive by an ISIS-like group. And it's the story of her captivity and eventual escape and finding her way back to her parents. The writer is an Iraqi himself and is an amazing storyteller. And the character, what I love about the Yasmin book is that it presents a female character that is really deep and courageous and like the women that I know in real life. I think one of the flaws of comics is that all too often women are portrayed as mere sex symbols. And I think it's a problem. And look, I love women. I love beautiful women. Okay. But I just think we do women a disservice when we portray them as just, I'm a sex object. You know, I'm here to wear scantily clad, breast bursting out of my costume and hardly in thong up to, I'm probably offending many people in the chat. They probably all hate me now, but it's not because I don't like a beautiful woman, but I just think I know so many amazing women that I've known in my life. And I feel like what makes them amazing, yeah, they're beautiful, but it's the soul inside that woman, the mind that she has, the commitment, the selflessness. Like when I think of my own wife, I think, she's a counselor for PTSD. She works for the VA, and she goes on weekend retreats where she does counseling for these veterans that have seen terrible things, and her concern is always for them. It's always that's kind of her hallmark, is she lives her whole life for other people. She's constantly worried about helping other people. And I see it's kind of like something that women do really well is care for others, reach out and be concerned about helping other people. And they have a real selfless quality that I think men could learn from, and hopefully we do at our best. We can be selfless too. But I want to see characters of women depicted that glorify those aspects of their character. And, anyway, that's off my soapbox. Like I said, I've alienated half the chat. They all hate me now.
No, you're fine. No, I think it's good that people see other sides of like characters and all that kind of stuff. Cause you don't need a song to fight evil all the time.
Exactly. So Yasmin is a book that I would recommend. There's a book that I absolutely adore. It's called Smoketown. Smoketown is written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, who you may know that name. He went on to write Superman. And it's basically a crime story. It's about a soldier coming back from Afghanistan, getting involved with the mob. Does not go well, but incredibly well written. And then the other one that I love, again, I had nothing to do with this book, is called Heavenly Blues. And Heavenly Blues, I'm going to pitch this to you, whether you like it or not. Heavenly Blues is an archangel wants to steal a heavenly artifact. So he goes to hell and recruits the greatest team of thieves that have ever lived from different time periods and cultures and says, look, you get this from me, I'll get you a get out of jail free card. You can go back to the earth and live your life. It's kind of like Ocean's 11 meets Dante's Divine Comedy.
Ooh.
I wish I would have thought of it. I'm so jealous. It's a great book. I absolutely love it. So those are 3 books from Scout that I would recommend to anyone. I had nothing to do with it, but I've also edited some amazing works. I've edited almost 160 separate titles for Scout now.
Wow.
So yeah. And that's just since 20. Since 20. Yeah. And there's some amazing Marco, like I said, pick up stuff that Marco's done. His Pentagram of Horror is amazing. There's a book called Phantasmagoria. That's a incredible horror story.
When's his Outlaws book come out?
John Clark. He's a great horror writer that writes for us. I mean, and this is just scraping the surface of stuff that we've got. We got a lot of really wonderful stories. Yeah, we got some stuff coming out. E-Junkies, great, coming out. Death Comes for the Toymaker. Count Dante. You've heard it. Death Comes for the Toymaker. I recommend it wholeheartedly. Count Dante is a kung fu book with a kind of a 70s vibe.
Oh, sweet.
Love it. Totally love it.
I'm all about that. I watch.
Yeah, so, and these are just
martial arts
few names. Oh. We got The Recount. We've got Stake. We've got a lot of wonderful, wonderful books. White Ash. I mean, the Stabbity Bunny, The Mall, Third Wave 99. We just came out with a Ric Flair comic, for God's sake.
That's true. You did
Ric Flair is actually a secret agent. his wrestling career is just a cover. I mean, seriously, come on. If that doesn't do anything for you, come on, you need a pulse.
You guys have got to see those covers because they're amazing.
Peach Momoko, yeah. I mean, we certainly, we value her work. I feel like recently there was a new one that came out from her. I'd have to check on that. But I mean, we, at Scout, we like great artists. Show us the great art. Yeah.
Seems like you're all about the writing, the stories, and the art, which I really enjoy in a company that's behind that.
Well, we're all creators. I think that really makes a difference. In a lot of ways, it's kind of like Image. I'd like to be as big as Image, but that's how they got started too. They were all creators, kind of banding together and kind of, feeding off each other's love for the genre, the genre, not just the genre, but the medium really is the word for it. The medium of comics, telling story in sequential art, Ragman. That's why I like Ragman. It's a supernatural story, so I like that. Would love another Tahani Farr cover for my favorite Scout cover. Yeah,
she has great.
She did an amazing Medusa. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a Medusa cover that she did for Eternus. Eternus is a Greek mythology title that we have that actually was created by Andy Serkis, among others. Ooh. Don Hanfield. There's a number of others, Anastasia Davis. But she did a Medusa cover that is just staggering. So Tahani Farr. Yeah.
Yeah, her painting.
Headline, Tahani Farr does not suck.
No, that's correct. Yes.
Very talented. So, we'll take any cover she wants to throw our way.
Her paintings are just absolutely gorgeous. You already answered this, but
Scout's been around since 2014. It was actually called Arden Entertainment before that. It was run by our current CEO, Brendan Deneen. So, So we're a baby in a lot of ways. Vlad Dracul. I am proud to say that I edited Vlad Dracul, and I love that title. It's written by Matteo Strukel, who I believe is Hungarian-born but lives in Venice, Italy. And then Andrea Moody. I mean, do you realize Andrea was the first man that I ever met in America with the name Andrea? I wanted to give him a kiss. I was so happy to meet him. I was like, he lives in Sarasota, by the way, and in here on the other side of the state from me, but in Sarasota. So I do see him, and he's another one that is very kind, very personable, just a great person to talk to. When you come up to him, he's just very humble. I love the guy. And I think he's very talented. The first book I came across of his was a book that he did about World War II. Vertigo did it. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I've got a signed copy.
Vertigo?
Oh God. 6 days. 6 days. That's what he did. That's the first one that I encountered of him. And I read it and loved it. And I heard he was doing a signing. I think it was in around Orlando. And so I went and got him to sign that. And I told him, I said, you are the first Andrea that I have met on this side of the Atlantic. God bless you. You've made my millennium. So, because you got to understand, most of my growing up was hearing having the teacher in class, calling my name and saying, Andrea Molinari. And then I raised my hand. She's like, yeah, I've been teaching 12 years. I don't think I'm going to fall for that on the first day of class. And I'm having to explain it, 6 hours of the day, 6 different explanations.
Oh, no.
So to finally get a chance to meet another guy with that name on this side of the Atlantic was, pretty amazing. And I was over 40 years old. You need to understand. So
wow.
It took a while for that to happen. So anyway.
Hey, John. Yes, you heard Thong.
Yes, you did hear that.
Yes.
So, one of the best lines from The Big Lebowski is, you treat objects like women. There you go. Yes.
Sorry, my thing is just spazzing out for a second. Okay. You trade paperbacks.
Trying to see if there's does Scout plan to do or plan? Yeah, we do lots of trade paperbacks. that's one of the things that's been complicated this year is because they're more expensive than ever. Like the paper, this is a lot of times people don't realize, but paper has gone up since the pandemic. And so that producing paperbacks is more expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Cali Comics, try Heavenly Blues. It's wonderful. It really is a fun read. And I'm told that they're doing sequels where they do one with, for Purgatory and Paradiso. Because that Dante's Divine Comedy is divided up into 3 parts. Like most people, when they hear Dante, they think of Dante's Inferno, right? That's hell, of course. But that's only 1/3 of the entire work, which is known as the Divine Comedy. And it's the Inferno, the Purgatorio, and the Paradiso. So Purgatory and Heaven. And the plan, my understanding, is Heavenly Blues is going to have like 3 stories that are told. So I'm all for it. I'm very supportive. Only this time I'm going to be their editor when they come in with the next book. So,
yeah. All right. Okay. Yes.
Yes. Red Sonja. Hey, I will tell you, a friend of mine, Torun Grinbeck, is actually writing Red Sonja. I met her. She was a writer, started out with Caliber Comics.
Oh, nice.
And she's like, local girl. By the way, she's from Norway, so not so local, but absolute sweetheart, wonderful person, incredibly talented, absolutely intelligent, multi-talented. She's a painter. She's a writer, an excellent writer. I mean, it's like, I tease her, it's like unfair that she's got all this talent, and she's got the mind of a CEO on top of everything else. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, very wonderful person. Yeah, she got to write Thor. How cool would it be to be a Norwegian writing Thor?
That's got to be
on most of their bucket lists, I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yes, I think that would have to be super bucket list.
Yeah, Thor would be cool to write, period, right? Yeah, Phantasmagoria, that's a look for, it's actually spelled PH, I want to make sure I'm getting this right, PHANTSM, MAGORIA. I had to spell it out for myself. But yeah, that's the first story arc is complete. There are 5 issues. I recommend it wholeheartedly. Let me pitch it to you. Phantasmagoria is set in Victorian England. Now imagine Sherlock Holmes, but he's not a detective. He's a mage. And he only takes occult cases dealing with ghostly hauntings and possession.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm into that.
Yeah. And it's all black and white. Normally we do color books, but this one, black and white, absolutely pops. And the art is amazing. It's done by a Spaniard by the name of Joe Bicardo. Okay. And the writer is Juan Torres, known as El Torres. And both of them are Spaniards. I'm the only non-Spaniard on the team. But I love those guys. I mean, I will tell you this, lots of love for my Italian brothers and sisters and my Spanish brothers and sisters that I've had the chance to work with. I mean, they're wonderful, wonderful people.
Oh, absolutely. Very lovely.
I hope to God that I get to go over there and visit them face to face. But yeah. Well, Marco, you already met Marco. I mean, he's an example, a shining example of the Italian creative community. Yes,
and I really hope he comes here for like a tour.
Oh, I want to bring him.
You got to bring him.
I would love to bring him to some of the conventions that I do because I think he would, would really, really enjoy it.
He's got it. Yeah, he's got to do that, and he's got to do some of the horror conventions because there's some really cool ones that I'm feeling people would go nuts for his stuff there.
Yeah.
Oh, and By the Horns is good too.
If you talk to him, By the Horns is another one. Yeah, that's arguably one of our most popular titles. That and Stabbity Bunny, I would say, are probably our 2 most popular titles. But By the Horns in that world is kind of interesting because in that world, unicorns are evil. And they actually murder the main character's Elodie. They murder her husband. And so she goes after them and hunts them down and kills them. But then an even greater evil comes along that kind of forces her tentative alliance with these enemies.
I love the colors in that too. The colors.
The colors are very vivid, very vivid.
Yeah, wait. You have the Ric Flair.
You have Ric Flair #1. All right.
The art on the cover of some of those is just hilarious. And
There's like 10 covers. I think they have like 10 covers. They told me.
They're just so good. Yeah.
Yeah, White Ash. That is a very Charlie Stickney is the writer for that, and he's very talented. very talented. And I'm a fan of White Ash. I don't edit it or anything like that, but I am just a fanboy of that. I supported his last Kickstarter because he has a spinoff called Glarian, and that was the Kickstarter that he did recently.
Wait, hold on.
Okay, yeah. I haven't heard of that one. That does sound interesting, though. It's about how well executed it is, obviously, the story idea. But yeah. Yeah, her Eternus cover. Yep, it is beautiful.
Yeah, she did a couple really good covers for the Strange covers, like the Niobe run recently also, which is very...
I think Tahani Farr also did a beautiful cover, if I'm not mistaken, for Kilchella, which is a horror story that Scout has. That's a good one, too, by the way. It's like a summer slasher. If you like the summer slasher movies, you'd enjoy Kilchella. It's set in a music festival, and the singer that's calling this music festival is like cray-cray, like really like far gone. She wants her followers to commit murder on her behalf and human sacrifice. Yeah, she's a piece of work.
That sounds like one hell of a festival.
Yeah. Imagine going to a festival and don't know that you're going to be murdered, and the plan is that you're going to get a lot of death and murder. So yeah. Do I like the series Tart? Yeah, I edit the series Tart. Kevin Joseph, friend of mine. He lives in Fort Lauderdale. He's about 45 minutes south of me. Yeah, great guy. Love the book. Very much enjoy it. That is a time-traveling demon hunter book. And very cool. Yeah.
I think you mean the other Ed.
Andrea as well. Yes, he is a very wonderful man. Yes. So and more of a kiss on the cheek thing. I want to be very clear about that. I don't want my wife to be concerned. Not that she has competition. So, By the Horns, one of my favorite Scout comics. Glad to hear it. Very glad to hear that. I didn't get to edit Red Xmas. I didn't. I would have liked to. It's kind of a crazy book. It would have been fun. Yeah. Yeah, By the Horns, very good. Hi, Grandpa.
Hello, Obesity Balls.
Okay. I don't know who that is.
I don't know either.
Julius, so I can understand have a unique name. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes. Yeah, Dante. Yeah, I mean, Dante. Well, you know what always has stuck with me about Dante is that it is said, and I think it's true, is that when he sat down to write the Divine Comedy, he intended to write a classic, which I think is ballsy as hell. But I think it's exactly what every writer should do, is you should always say, want to write something for the ages. That's what I try to do when I write the Shepherd stories. Now, if I achieve it, that's somebody else to decide. But I am trying to write the very best thing I can possibly squeeze out of my soul. Yeah.
Okay.
He's a tango instructor. I have another person. Take no prisoners, mercenary named Kaiser Permanente. Okay. Yeah. Sounds like we're off our meds. So
well, he's Dracula, so he's immortal. So he's probably had many.
There you go. You got to have different personalities to mix it up. You're going to be immortal. Yeah. Yeah, I think you'd have to. We'd get tired.
You got to do,
Yeah, Orson Welles. We actually do have an Orson Welles book. I don't know, Mastodon, if that's what you're thinking, is you're actually referencing that. So far, to my knowledge, I believe it's only the Ash Can that's come out. I am editing that story, and yes, I love it. I do love it. It's a very good book. Yeah. Mates and Mermaids, yes.
Oh, yeah. I would say that in like the old museums, I would just spend all day in the museums.
Yeah, I've been to Italy because I do have family there still. I was back. This is about back in 2006 that I was there. But I would say, yeah, the art was amazing. I tell people this all the time. When I came back from Italy, I was there for 16 days, traveled quite a bit. I really went through what I would describe as withdrawals of beauty because there was so much beauty, so much art surrounding it, just everywhere. And then to come back and not to be around it, it was hard. It was a hard transition. Ignacio did a cover for By the Horns. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's one of the members in our comic community, little here. So
excellent. Yeah.
It's awesome.
No, it's a great title. It really is, and good guys.
Deal. Come. There's tons of cons happening. We'll gladly hook you up with some.
Good. Yeah, we definitely want Marco here. Yeah. I want to come hang out with Marco. I want to live over there in Italy with him for a while, hang out.
That's exactly what Drac just said.
Yeah.
Trade places.
Yeah. So,
deal.
We have a deal. Yeah, good.
Okay. CJ wants to know, you be at NYCC.
I tried. I did not get accepted this year. It's hard to get in. Everybody tries to get in, so the push is big. It's okay. There's a chance Scout might be there, and they've talked about me possibly going with Scout, so I might be there. I'm going to tell you a dirty secret that may offend some in the chat, but New York doesn't do it for me. It's just too crowded. It's way too crowded.
CJ is gonna be so
and I will tell you, New York is a cool place. It is. I could not handle living there. It's just crazy crowded. Just too crowded for me. But it's a cool city. I mean, it is cool, and they have lots of cool things to visit and do while you're there. And if you haven't gone to New York City Comic Con, you owe it to yourself as a comic fan to go there at least once. That should be on your bucket list. It's a great convention. It really is, and they're amazing comic fans there.
Oh, I bet. I know CJ's going. So if you do go to New York,
it's just too claustrophobic for me. Also, then they'd expect you to be a Yankee fan, and I'm just not going to go there. Piss off the Yankee fans or something. Got to keep the rhubarb going though.
No, you can give him all the smack talking you want. It's fine. Barb wants to know.
To visit. It is though.
No, I bet. Yeah. How do you get a copy of some of the ash cans?
Go to scoutcomics.com. And I guarantee you their ash cans, do a search for ash cans, and you'll get them. I'm sure that I don't know if we've come out with it yet, but I'm sure we're doing an ash can for Space Outlaws, Marco's new title.
Perfect.
I'm pretty certain that we did that because I feel like I remember editing it amongst the tidal wave of things that I edit.
I'll link that in the description when we're done, so we can have that in there.
Yeah, I will tell you, Kevin, you're right. It is hot right now. Like the ideal, I think, for people is to be a snowbird and to come to Florida from the months of like late October through March is the best time of the year to be here. But it is hot right now in July and August. In August, it's very hot. It just is. Like
it's wicked hot right now. I can't imagine down there.
I'm a runner. Okay. So I make sure like you don't want to be running at 9 o'clock in the morning or later because you are going to suffer profoundly.
Yikes.
No, you don't want to do it.
At 9 in the morning?
You want to be done by 9. You want to be ideally sooner than later. Yeah. I try to be, Yeah, trust me. And I run on the shady side of the road too. I run on the east side of the road in the morning where the shade is because it's another 5 degrees. And life is too short to make myself suffer like that. I just am not into it. I'm ready for Italy. The food is amazing. The women are beautiful.
Fantastic.
Guys are good looking too. I mean, let's be honest.
I'm sure they are. Hey.
And he's always got these cool outfits that he wears. I don't know if Marco showed you his hats that he's
he has not shown me hats, but I need to see hats. Yeah. I'm a sucker for weird hats.
Marco has very cool hats. Yes. He's a guy that wears the scarves and stuff like that. He's very fashionable.
Oh, he's fashion forward. Yeah, I did enjoy his hoodie when he was on.
His next step is that he's going to do a GQ thing, like artist and model. Which direction?
Okay. I could see that happening. He's saying they did an ash can for that. Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to look that up. I'm gonna check that out. When does the title for that actually
Metal
release?
Shark? Yeah, that's another one.
That's the one I want to look into. That looks hilarious.
I know that the creators of Metal Shark are actually working on a new book, but I don't think it's Metal Shark. It's a werewolf title. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Something with the moon as part of the title. I'd have to look it up, but yeah, they're working on that right now. Walter Osley is the guy who did the art for the Metal Shark Bro. He is a wonderful human being. Another really fine human being, talented artist. He did a work called Shiver Bureau that Scout publishes, as well as the Metal Shark Bro. And that's really good. I would describe Shiver Bureau as it's basically Ghostbusters meets Doctor Who. And David Tennant, Doctor Who. So you know how David Tennant was so manic as Doctor Who, lots of energy. That's Shiver Bureau.
I like it.
In an alternate universe of London, it's an organization that prevents ghostly incursions, and the main character is called Inspector Pickle. Yes, it's good. It's fun.
Amazing.
Yeah. See, Marco's saying he wants to be a model. Like I said, just go through his picture feed. You'll see, especially when he's out being famous. He goes to these conventions in Italy and is very famous and very stylish. I mean, it's just, he has to. He gives talks. And it is what it is, you know.
You were styling on the show. Yeah, I can see that happening. Yeah.
You understand we bust. Yeah. So Kevin, yes, Walter is great. Excellent. Yeah, Walter is a great guy. He is, I will show you, in fact. Hold on here. Okay. I'm going to make an adjustment. I actually have a big piece of art on my wall that he did. This is a poster version, what I'm about to show you, of a cover that he did for the Shepherd. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but that. Oh, neat. Yeah, that's Walter Osley. He's done like 3 different covers for me for the Shepherd. And he was actually the first comic book creator that my son Roberto and I met when we got into comics. Yeah. And he's given me a lot of really wonderful advice over the years.
That's cool.
So, yeah. Really good. So
yeah, definitely look into that.
Yeah, Shiver Bureau. I would say Shiver Bureau is a literary roller coaster. It never stops. It's just like you strap in and you're just hair blowing back and screaming, hands like this through the entire story. I totally recommend it. It's just a lot of fun. So.
I would really like to go to an overseas convention just to see how it would be, just to experience
that. Is on my bucket list. I'd like to go to Lucca Comics and Games, which is supposed to be that's their big one in Italy.
Yeah.
And the other one, I've heard really good things about Naples. Now, probably Marco could comment on that, on others.
Yeah.
But I've heard really good things about the Naples show.
So the Lake Como too, because that's strictly like you get to meet the artist, and that would be my absolute favorite thing.
My understanding is Lake Como is really hard to get into. I don't know if that's true or not. Marco would be the one to ask about that. So.
I could ask Ryan. I did an interview on Nam's channel with Ryan Onagawa, and he was one of the artists there. And he said it was real, like, amazing.
Well, Callie's asking about Mullet Cop. Mullet Cop is hilarious. That is, I edit that one too. Yeah, Tom Lintern is the guy who does that, and yeah, he's doing these kind of small booklet size ones of Mullet Cop. That actually Mullet Cop has been picked up. They're going to do like an adult cartoon version of that. It's not going to be called Mullet Cop. There's another name that they're doing, but it is Mullet Cop. So that's pretty exciting.
Hold on. So, I'm trying to highlight Kelly's comic, but my thing keeps freezing. He wants to know if you can explain the Black Caravan side to Scout Comics.
Yeah, Black Caravan it's now defunct, unfortunately, but it was a horror and sci-fi focused imprint of Scout. And I'm hoping that at some point we'll do another horror focused imprint. Right now, that's not in the immediate plan. I will tell you this is that we do have a new imprint that we're going to be bringing online coming at the beginning of next year that'll focus on European creators. I think I'm allowed to say that. So if I'm not allowed, I just said it. So but, that's actually going to be headed up by Juan Torres, who is a Spanish creator, very prolific. He did Nancy in Hell. I don't know if you're familiar with that title, but it was originally published by Image Comics.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to wear the good stuff on the next show. All right.
The good stuff. That. Yeah. See, make him be fashion conscious. Yeah.
I will make you do that next time. Yes. Oh no. What did I do? You love Black. Yes. I also really enjoyed that movie. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Black Friday is actually done by John Clark. And if you like his writing, which I recommend his horror writing, he's done Something Juicy for us. It's a one-shot comic. I recommend it. And he also did Playthings, which is a serial killer story, 5 issues. I also recommend that story. It's very creepy, wonderful ending, very satisfying ending.
That's the best.
So yeah, I do want a new horror sci-fi imprint. In fact, I would like to be the publisher of that new sort.
Get on that, Marco.
I'd love to. And I don't normally want to be a publisher, but for the horror, I would make the exception. Yeah.
Yeah.
The guys know that. I've told them. So it's my request has been filed.
Put in.
Yeah. Yeah, I did too. Black Caravan, I think a lot of it, to be honest with you, the guys leading Black Caravan, Joe Schmalke and Rich Woodall, they are creators. And the problem with being a publisher is it's a lot of administration. And I think that they're better off focusing on as creators. Joe is an amazing talent. So is Rich. Both of them are. And the world's better with Joe kicking out good new content. That's the bottom line. I've told him, I'm not saying anything to you that I haven't said to his face. I saw him at AwesomeCon earlier in June. And I just told him, I said, I'm glad to see you producing new stuff because you're a talent. You really are. And he's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. So I have only good things to say about those guys. Yeah, your bottomless to breed print. Yeah, isn't that the way? But here's the thing.
You have to push it up to your top of your pile.
Don't feel bad if you have a tall to read list. There's worse things that could happen to you than have to know that if you ever have the time, you've got all this wonderful stuff to read. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing at all.
I also agree. Riz Campbell is the man.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a fan. Yeah, absolutely. Army of Darkness is my favorite of his stuff.
Yes.
So yeah. Although I liked him in Xena too.
I also really loved him in Jack of All Trades.
Yeah.
That was underrated. I think we could get more. Bubba Hotep is funny.
There you go.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. We've almost been on for 2 hours.
There you go. So yeah, no, I mean, wonderful chat. I mean, I'm really, yeah, there you go. Well, we're always looking for that. I will tell you that, the key thing is take those ideas, take the demented ideas and put together a creative team. What I recommend, if you're going to do a comic, I would recommend doing a one shot.
Okay.
Because it's more affordable. One of the mistakes that young creators make is they try to do like a graphic novel, and it's expensive to do a graphic novel. Like the first volume of The Shepherd, I didn't do what I recommend. It's a 120-page book. That's expensive. It really is. Like I said, $23,000, not counting the David Mack cover. Whereas if you do an individual issue, you might be able to produce that individual issue, for $3,000 to $5,000. That's more doable for most people. And that's to see if you like the process, if you like doing the comics, if you have what it takes to write a compelling story, to find a publisher. Come see me. Knock on my door. So no, I'm never about denying people's ideas. Not at all. Callie, I would never do that, because it has to start somewhere. The idea has to start somewhere. And a lot of times I think what I found is people just need to be empowered to think that they can do it,
I like that.
And you can, it's like anything else. Can you learn to make a comic? Yes, you absolutely can. You just need some help, some guidance, Can you learn to do your own plumbing? Yeah, but I wouldn't recommend you need somebody who knows
plumbing over electrical, though.
Yeah, all this stuff you can learn it. You're not stupid. You can absolutely learn it. You just need guidance, and that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing at all. There's no shame in needing help. Okay, so what's the chance of the one's first book becoming a success? Probably not huge. But it depends on what you say is a success. For me, if you can write a book that a publisher values enough to offer a contract, that's a success. That's a success straight up. If you can write a satisfying story or create a satisfying story that touches people, that they enjoy, again, that's a success. remember that a lot of famous artists and writers were never recognized in their own lifetime. I mean, the famous example is Van Gogh. He sold one painting in his life, and that was to a family friend.
Yeah, his actually have the poster right there.
Yeah.
One of his pieces.
So sometimes you're not recognized in your own day and time. Earlier in this conversation, I was asked about what my thoughts were on Tolkien. Okay. Do you know that Tolkien died wondering if anyone would really like his work?
That's amazing.
He died wondering. Like, think about that. That's insane. But, that's the way it is. Sometimes it takes a while for people to come around to appreciate, and many times we don't appreciate what we have until it is in fact gone, Yeah, it's a journey. It is a journey. Yeah, absolutely.
No, he's saying it's okay to deny journey.
Yeah. Take your shot, do your best, give it your best shot, but understand you can't tinker with it forever. But again, that's a good guide. A good editor will help you understand that, is that we need to finish this project. Because you need to move on to your next project. And you learn every project you do. I'm sure Marco would tell you the exact same thing. You get stronger the more you do this. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, Kev. I'm so glad you did so.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Kevin. My pleasure.
And also, thank you very much, Kendra.
Yeah, it's no burden. I'm happy to do it. And always love to meet the fans. It's cool because I am one too. Yep, that's excellent advice. Try it. Don't worry about doing a masterpiece. Just do your best. Get it out there. Take the shot and then grow. Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, wow, that was fascinating, and I'm glad we got to learn so many books about Scout comics about you.
Yeah, no, I love talking about Scout. I mean, so I'm real proud of those people that I work with, men and women that I'm privileged to get a chance to work with as an editor. Yeah, it's an honor. It really is. So
it was definitely a lot of fun, and I'm glad that Marco stopped by too.
Yep. Marco, I always drop in on his as much as I can. I try to drop in on his stuff, but he often stops in on when I'm doing an interview too. So I always
that's great. That's fun. Yeah. Oh, well, it's been, I can't believe it's been 2 hours. It just feels like we just started. Well, you are definitely welcome back anytime, and I know you are extremely busy because you're driving around all these cons.
Well, what I would say is, I can advise you to meet with some of our creators. Like we have one that I think Marco might agree with this. We have a Canadian creator. His name is Adrian Kaleric, and he does a book called Trakovi, which is actually a story about a supervillain self-help group. It's like a 12-step program for supervillains.
That sounds great.
It's really violent, really crazy, and the art's amazing. And the story's amazing.
Best things I've ever heard.
Definitely say Adrian would be somebody who I think you'd really enjoy.
I will definitely be reaching out to Adrian for sure. I've just been running into these guys at conventions.
Yeah, we got the Canadians are well represented. I edit for 3 or 4 Canadian teams. Yeah, they're great guys. Great guys. Absolutely. Yeah, Canada. I'm very pro Canada. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Okay. So what recent cons do you have coming up? I know we talked about this backstage, but we have a lot of con folk in the chat.
Tampa's next. That's the big one. I do have a signing, like a one-day signing coming up in Atlanta. And I think it's like the 21st. Let me check real quick in the calendar here. The 21st, 22nd of this month that's coming up. That's and then Tampa at the end of the month, last weekend of the month, 28th to the 30th. And then I'll be in New Orleans the 12th and 13th. And then the 18th, 19th, and 20th in Shreveport. And then from the 30th through the 4th of September, I'll be at Dragon Con in Atlanta. So, and then I think I have a couple more after that. Like I'll be at Birmingham towards the end of September, and then the final weekend in September, it's looking like Asheville.
Okay. Baltimore Con at all? Do you
No, I made it to Washington. I was in Washington. Baltimore's harder to get in too. But Washington, I got to the area. I feel like, that I try to, it's such a long trip, I mean, it really is it's like a 2-day drive to get there and 2 days back. And like I explained to you when you take 4 days of travel and then add a 3-day con, now you're away from home for 7 days. So, and I do that. I'd like to try to stay married, ideally, although who knows? The horror con in Atlanta. I know there is one in Atlanta, but I'm going for Dragon Con, and the signing is it's a shop signing. It's by one of my friends, Chris Hamer, as the guy who did the piece of art that I showed you that he did.
Oh, that's cool.
He owns a comic book shop. He's a comic book writer and artist himself. He does a book for Scout.
Maybe he wants to know what shop, because I think he might be local.
Hold on here. Let me look for you.
And then why you're looking for that? Actual Dracula says, yes, I'm another Adrian from Canada. We are Legion.
Yes.
And Journey wants to know, are there any plans on any crossover stories through Scout titles?
We've actually talked about that. I've been talking with Richard Rivera, who writes Stabity Bunny, and we've talked about doing a Shepherd Stabity Bunny.
Oh.
So that's a possibility. I'm just looking.
And maybe if Mignola is watching this, you'll do the.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah. I'm guessing that Mike Mignola has no lack of people that want to team up with his characters.
Me too, Marcus. It's one of the first cons I've ever heard about besides Otakon and North Central, and San Diego and Wizard World. It's one of the top 5s, I would say, for Dragon Con.
I'm trying here to find this thing.
Ooh, Kelly wants Playthings and Stabity Bunny.
Yeah, those are excellent titles. You're not going to go wrong with either one of them. I support that wholeheartedly.
Definitely first con. Yeah. I'd say I heard about that back in Wizard when they were doing the crossovers for the gaming, and then whenever they would start doing the ads for cons is when I heard about Dragon Con.
And so the name of the store is Urban Pop Comics Company, and they're in Ackworth, Georgia, ACWORTH, Georgia. And that is the 22nd.
Okay. That's cool, Barb. Maybe you could make it.
Yeah, please do. I mean, it's actually going to be a book discussion about that volume, the Shepherd Volume 1.
Very cool.
And I'll be doing a signing, I think on the Friday before that, 21st.
Stabity and
Kingjira. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah. I could also see Kingjira and the metal shirt guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, it would be interesting. The other thing I would love to do is I'd love to do a team up with the Shepherd. I've actually talked with Marco about this. If you look at his Pentagram of Horror issue 1, there's a story that he tells that I have a problem with the way it ends, and I'd like to fix it by having the Shepherd rescue that artist.
Oh,
the artist. It's a story about an artist in hell, and I'd love to write a sequel to that where the Shepherd rescues him. So, yeah.
98, 99 was a good year. That was high school.
Marcus. Yeah, Marcus is a nerd. Marcus, or you're talking about Marco?
So Circumstances is named Marcus. So
okay.
Drac is calling Marcus a nerd.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Okay. Question. Oh, it's not highlighting?
Adventures of Byron, that's Chris Hamer's title. Okay. I would love to see them. My understanding is they wanted to put that together as a trade, put all of the books together as a trade. I'd love to see that. And I'd love to see more Byron. A lot of it has to do with how much time Chris has available, because he's a dad of a young girl, and he tries to spend as much time as he can there. And he just opened a comic book store. So he's got that. Plus, as a professional artist, he's producing original pieces of art to help fund, both the shop and his day-to-day expenses. So, and then traveling to conventions and stuff like that. So it's like, when do you fit it all in? It's tough. It really is. So, yeah, Marco is admitting we talked about the ending. Yeah, we did. I actually wrote him a letter about it, and I have it I keep it on my desktop so that I can remember that I do want to write a sequel to that story. So I haven't forgotten Marco, and I want Marco to illustrate it, because I think having him illustrate the Shepherd would be off the chain. He would do an amazing job.
Oh.
So. Now Marco has told me often that he wants to do romance stories.
Romance stories.
No, he's not told me that. I told him I would love to see him do a romance story.
I could see him do like the classic like chillers back in like the early, like the 60s type thing. I could see him do that. Add a little elements.
Marco plays like he's this hard-boiled guy, but I think he's a total romantic at heart. I think that's exactly who he is. And
totally.
His wife is gorgeous. I don't know if you've ever seen.
Oh, no.
His wife is absolutely beautiful. Could be another model. So he's living a rough life. I feel so sorry. Yeah, yes, I'm the talented GQ artist who's married to a supermodel. So
yeah, and you get the amazing Italian coffees every time you go out.
And he has his own coffee. Oh, come on, seriously.
Come on. What?
Yeah. So
he's gonna be a model soon. Yeah, get out of here.
Yes, I like to bust Marco's chops a lot. Yeah,
do it. Sounds like he's got too much stuff happening for him. He's got to bust some chops now.
We all love Marco. We do. We just love him. So you did a romance book, see, but you didn't send it to Scout. So you need to send. You need to. If that's not available, then you need to produce a new romance story and send it to Scout. If that's it. We'll expect it next week.
You guys are hilarious. You're talking about how much you're bench pressing.
There you go.
I too would like to bench press a can of Pringles. I could do that right now. Honey mustard ones, those are my favorite.
I haven't tried those. I haven't tried those yet.
Oh, they're my favorite. They're probably possibly my favorites. I thought you were bench pressing 315, Marcus. What happened? Now you're back down to 135. Oh, what happened? Yeah, do it. So yes, I'll link your email in the description, and also put your son's link to his page if you want me also to do that. I'll put that in there.
Sure.
Hold on, my chat just keeps freezing. So if I missed anybody's questions, I'm sorry, but I starred a lot of things. So whenever you do come back, 'cause I would love to have you on again. We can ask them again. Yeah, no, my chat jumping up and down right now.
Yeah, everybody's all fired up. That's good.
They're all fired up. Yeah. Well, they're all trying to out bench each other. Yes, tell him your stories. We need way more Marco.
I'm always good to hear it. So, yeah, I'd love to see you do romance.
Oh, here's a question. Right here.
I'm not on the submissions committee. I want to be very clear about that. The way that Scout works, just so you know, is Scout has 5 people on the submissions committee, and that's basically the ownership group. And they typically you have to get 3 of the 5 of them to agree to get the contract. Now, each of them is allowed, I think, once a year they can put their foot down and say, I don't care what any of you guys think. I think this is a winner book, and I'm gonna put my foot down and demand that we do this. But that's usually how it works. So when I come into play is when they've already given a contract. Then they drop it on my lap, and I either edit it myself or I have 4 editors that work with me. So, and anyway, for concepts, I don't know that there's any concepts off limits.
I guess you would just have to submit and find out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess it'd be what you have in mind. I'm a little frightened to find out what you have in mind.
He's already said he has some interesting ideas, so that should let you know.
I think a lot of it would be, what would we be willing to depict, to have you depict, you know, like you could do different things, but would we want them depicted? And then here's the other question is, certain things, if we did do, we would probably have to market the book as an 18 and older and have to have like a special packaging for it, which we've done before. You know, so that comes into play. So I guess it would be just take your shot and see how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, you never know until you try, and that's the whole point, basically. Yeah. Maybe you'll get some really good feedback if you do send it in anyways. Yes, because Kyle is actually getting to the point where he wants to start and get his own stuff out there. So, you know.
Yeah. Well, I gave you my email. We could start talking there and then have a Zoom session or something and see where you're at and what can be done. Yeah, I'm certainly open. Is Time Traveler here? Are you a writer or artist or both? You know, that'd be my question. I don't know.
I think you're the writer, then your friend's the artist, and you're trying to work on the book together.
Well, my advice to you is, before you pay for any art, let's talk. Okay. Because, you know, you could easily pay for art that wouldn't be considered up to par for a publisher. And I would recommend, if you can get it published by a publisher, do that. You owe it to yourself, you know. Obviously you can do as you like, but that's my advice. So.
And then CJ, my chat keeps freaking.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't think comic books should shy away from controversial topics. Obviously you can do them well or do them poorly, you know. But comics, I think, have a long history of trying to take on important topics. Like, I don't know if you've ever read, it's this 3-novel series published by Dark Horse called March. And it deals with the civil rights movement. And it is, I will tell you, it's hard to read, for me at least, because it talks about a lot of really sad things. You know, about people judging people based on the color of their skin and treating them badly and straight up murdering them because they want to be treated like just a human being. You know, I'm glad that Dark Horse published it. It's a powerful read. You know, good literature does challenge you. In fact, it makes me think of one of the books I recommend. March was intense. I recommend it. I would recommend a book that we do called Captain Suave. And Captain Suave is Joe Siraki and Kelly Williams. Kelly Williams is the artist, very talented. It's about a street person living in Cleveland who believes he's a golden age superhero. And it kind of reveals his backstory of what ended up putting him on the street and how he didn't collapse into hating people, even though he would be justified to hate the human race for what was done to him. But instead he tries to help people. And it's a really powerful story. It's kind of a modern day Don Quixote. And I love it. Yeah. So I think comic books should deal with controversial topics. Just try to do well, but do it well. Yeah. Yeah. The submission meetings the conversations can be very, very good. Like we've had some, I know, like I often will have books that I want, that I push, and I'm not part of the submissions committee. So all I can do is make my argument. And of course I campaign, you know, I know who's on the committee. So I talk to committee members that I know are crucial, and I pitch make my plea, you know? So yeah, they can get interesting.
What is the longest someone's ever submitted something before they actually got it passed through?
That is a really good question. I honestly don't know, but I know that there are books that I've had to fight for on multiple occasions to bring them back for consideration, and finally got it. Like there's a couple of them that I know were probably several months because they said no. And then I just, well, fuck that. This is a really good book. We're not going to fucking give it up on it. And I just put my foot down and I just said, look, you know, I'm your editorial director. I have a PhD in literature. The last I checked. this is a good piece of literature. Please look at this, read this thing. Don't just look at it, but read it and see that this has real value, you know? And so, yeah, we've had some of those before. Luckily, they did reconsider. You know, I just feel strongly about, you know, but most of the time I try to respect what their decisions are. You know, it's just that are sometimes where I think the book, I feel like they're, you know, missing the mark, you know, because sometimes great literature is controversial. And I said, I just don't think you can shy away from it, you know, and great literature often makes you feel uncomfortable. Like I remember in high school, they made me read J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah.
I fucking hated that book. I did. You want to know why? Because the main character is mentally ill. And the writer writes it so well that you, as the reader, are forced to live this mentally ill existence with the main character, which is not fun. And guess what? My older sister, who's now passed away, she was mentally ill. So the last thing, I was living with somebody who was mentally ill. The last thing I wanted to read about was a main character who was mentally ill, you know? But it was a great book. It's a great book, you know, but it's not the book I wanted at that time. Right. So
sometimes books that you don't want or end up being the books that you need at the time. Though.
Yeah. I've never forgotten it. I promise you that, you know, I've never forgotten that book. I'm not against newsprint, you know, it's more affordable. That's really why they do it. I mean, I will tell you, like, a lot of times they pitch it as nostalgia, but in reality, it's because it's a lot cheaper, you know. And
there's been some really quality newsprint coming through. I've seen a couple people go backwards to the newsprint. It's great.
Yeah, if it's a cheaper form of doing it, yeah, you know.
Yeah, the inks have changed over time now. There's more saturation on the page. It looks great.
Yeah. Not against it.
Okay. Any final questions, you guys? You guys are on fire. You guys are asking a lot of great
they've
stuff.
asked wonderful questions. I thank the chat for some very nice questions. Very enjoyable and thought-provoking too. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed having you on, and I hope
pleasure.
you come on sometime in the future. Yeah. Come on, show us more of your things, and
a lot of final questions. Yeah.
We know you are got all the questions, CJ. It's great.
All right. Well, like I said, I'm here. I would definitely come on again, but I think probably more importantly, I would direct you to some of our other creators because we have some wonderful, wonderful people that you would enjoy meeting from different countries.
Oh, I would love that.
Another title that I should tell you about, The Traveler's Guide to Flogoria. Ooh. It's written by a New Zealander, nice. Sam Moore. I'm privileged and honored to be able to edit for him. He writes, draws, colors, letters, the whole 9 yards. Incredibly talented. And it's the story about the most hideously introverted person you could ever imagine meeting, who is sucked through a portal into a brand new world where he is forced as an introvert to live as an extrovert because he has no choice. It's absolutely hilarious and wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And the artwork is spectacular. So, and it's just starting to roll out. The first issue is now out there. It's going to have 6 issues. There's an ash can out there available already. Recommend that one wholeheartedly. And Sam Moore would be somebody I'd love for you to talk to. Yeah,
I would love that. Oh, good.
How many New Zealanders do you get on your show?
A lot, actually. We have Matt Spidey, Simple Simon. I have my friend DZ. I have a lot. We have a good community over there. So that would be perfect. Yeah, it does sound like torture.
Yeah, well, it is torturous for the main character, but it's written so well. It's hilarious. It's just, and it's the situation. He has no choice. It'd be like being dropped in Japan. You don't speak a word of Japanese and having to start from scratch.
Oh, that's gonna be awful because you're just kind of like.
It is awful. It kills him. I mean, he's like killing him, but it's just funny to watch the process. And what's interesting about the character, and I shouldn't say too much about it, but the character starts to evolve, you know, and starts to gain confidence, you know, by being stretched like that. And it's really kind of a cool study of the human person, you know, in a very uncomfortable situation, you know. But like I said, the art is amazing. I recommend check it out on the Scout website. It's definitely worth your time.
Oh yeah. Kyle wants to know about
Paper stock. Oh God, I'm not the most knowledgeable guy about that, but we would, you know, I would direct you to our printers to talk about specifics, and our editor-in-chief, like Richard Rivera, could probably.
Oh my God.
Okay,
that. They're Australian. Sorry. Beefit is New Zealand.
Close enough, yeah.
That.
I bet New Zealand would be happy to hear that. Close
Oh,
enough.
I'm sure they would. Sorry, guys.
No, we do have Australians too, though, and they're wonderful. We've got some great creators from Australia as well. Yeah, and Brazil.
Yes.
Great creators in
There's
Brazil.
a lot of creative teams coming out of Brazil. I mean, yeah, Brazil.
Yeah, I will tell you flat out that one of the most wonderful parts of my job is getting to meet and befriend creators from all over the world. It is
That's
a gift.
Yes.
It's a gift. It's an absolute gift from God. I'm grateful. My life is infinitely better with them in it. You meet these passionate people with all these great ideas and great talent, and all they want to do is take a story and put it out there and give it to the world. It's just, yeah, it's pretty cool. So other than that.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about art and music. It just speaks volumes, and you really don't need language. It's
we'll
universal.
leave comic journey there is making comics.
Yeah, I bet you do, CJ.
All right. Well, I should let everybody go.
Yes.
I appreciate the opportunity.
You're very welcome.
And
Thank
yeah,
you.
and be in touch with me. We'll set up some other creators. And like I said,
definitely.
I'd be happy to come on again. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well,
you just
bye,
tell me
everybody.
We'll go get them.
Yes, I will. I've got a whole horde. I did already talk to the Corey guy about coming on. So.
Good. Yeah, Mike Salisbury's a good guy, and have his artists come in with him too.
Oh, we'll do that. Thank you guys for showing up. That was a lovely time, and I'm so glad you got to sit down and spend 2.5 hours with me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's absolutely a pleasure. Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.